Can you hear me? Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have an extraordinary panel of experts for you today. First, we have Dr. Ron Hunninghake, affectionately known as Dr. Ron. He's our Chief Medical Officer here at the Riordan Clinic. And Dr. Ron is a leading figure in integrative oncology, or integrative medicine, and specializes in cancer care and complex chronic illness. And next we have Jen Nolan, and Jen has over 2 decades of experience, and she is a pioneer in metabolic oncology nutrition. And then we have Karen Schrum, and Karen is a nutritional therapist and an oncology nutritional coach. Did I get that right? Okay. And then we have Dr. West, Dr. Kirsten West, and Dr. West is known for her expertise in integrative oncology, and she is a fellow of the American Board of Naturopathic Oncology, which is a honor only held by a select few naturopathic oncologists nationwide. So, a few other housekeeping items before we get started. You'll notice there are some question forms at each place setting. So throughout the presentation, if you want to write your questions down and then sit them on the end of the table, and before we do the Q&A session, I'll come by and pick them up. And then at the end, after the program's over, we'll compile a document with all of the questions and answers. Oh, it turned off. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
That's better.
Okay. After the presentation, we'll compile a document with all of the questions and answers, and then we'll send it out to everybody who has registered for the event. So you'll have those. Also, we'd like to give a big thank you to Sufficiency, who is our sponsor today, and we really are grateful for their dedication to helping to advance cancer nutrition and integrative medicine. So without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Ron.
All right, thank you. Can you hear me? Is that good? Okay. They can't? How's that? No? Paul?
Hello.
Okay, testing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for coming. This is exciting for me. I don't know how many of you used to come to the Thursday lunch and learns that we had. Quite a few, yeah. So we're trying to gradually recover from the pandemic and get things going again. And today we have a wonderful presentation for you. By way of introduction, I also wanted to ask how many of you recognize the term RecMap? That ring a bell with some of you? Well, that's I didn't know this word before, a backronym. It's where the word is spelled backwards. It's cancer spelled backwards, but it's meant to tell you about research encompassing comprehensive natural approaches to cancer. That was the research program that Dr. Riordan piloted and pioneered in 1989, and it was a 10-year program looking for ways to help people overcome cancer using natural methods. It was to reverse the cancer trends using natural compounds, nutritional therapies, and a holistic approach to care. So we had 2 major dividends that came out of that. The Riordan IBC protocol was developed as part of that research project, and it was launched in really 2001, and it is now probably used more than any other protocol in the world for using IV vitamin C for cancer care. So it was a major kind of discovery, creation, and because of that, the Riordan Clinic is known all over the world. I'm going back this September to Japan for the 10th time to lecture on vitamin C, and Dr. Yanagisawa found out that there was a group of doctors who were especially well suited for what we do. And those are the naturopathic oncologists. They are fellows of the Board of Naturopathic Oncology. And so we have been honored to have them with us because they bring not only the natural medicine, the naturopathic doctor, but they've got extensive training in oncology, and they are oncologists. So we'll be hearing a little bit more about that. So, our third area, kind of a new area that we are getting into, and have started already to get into, is the area of remission nutrition. And so that's our presentation today. And so I'm very, very pleased to have Janet and Karen here to talk about it. And Dr. West will also be talking about it. But we want to have people understand that, and I think you all do, people that come here understand the role of nutrition in the recovery from cancer. And so this organization has made that their main focus. And so without further ado, I'll go ahead and have you get started, Jen.
Great. Thank you. Can you all hear me okay? Sound good? Okay. So what I'm going to start with is a video that we put together just so you can get an introduction to our team and sort of what we do. It's a short introductory video, and I'll switch through. This is a little disclaimer that any information that we share today is not meant to be medical advice in any way. And so we just wanted to show you who is Remission Nutrition. We work worldwide, so we're all over, and we work mainly remotely. And so this will give you a good, if Paul wants to start the video. Who's Paul? Hi, I'm Jen Nolan, owner of Remission Nutrition, where we provide oncology nutrition consulting to clients virtually worldwide. I live in the mountains of Colorado and find joy in being in nature, spending time with family and friends, playing with recipes in my kitchen, and living a balanced and healthy lifestyle. Our amazing founder, Jess Kelly, who co-wrote the book, The Metabolic Approach to Cancer with Dr. Nasha Winters, paved the way in pioneering this holistic, terrain-based oncology nutrition path. Our highly trained team of consultants provide one-on-one nutrition consulting, specializing in cancer, disease prevention, and overall health and well-being. Our mission is to truly meet our clients wherever they are on their healing journey by providing individualized nutrition and lifestyle education. Whether you've just been diagnosed with cancer or another life-altering condition, are in the middle of recurrence, or looking to prevent cancer from returning or forming in the first place, we are here for you. We love collaboration and helping to connect our clients with a holistic team of practitioners, and we all work together with our clients always in the center of the circle. We use functional nutrition practices and use various testing measures such as blood work, genetics, microbiome tests to assess our clients' terrain and their health status in order to make specific recommendations. We also always use a food-first approach, and we realize the power in food as medicine. We also offer group education and support opportunities through a membership called The Nest. We have Reiki and guided imagery. We do exercise programs specific to cancer and prevention. It's really like a virtual wellness center. Our job is to educate, empower, and authentically lean in and show up for our clients. Our clients become our family, and love is at the core of what we do.
My name is Sarah Stratton, and I live in Sacramento, California with my husband and 2 daughters. I am an oncology nutrition consultant, a nutritional therapy practitioner, and a cancer exercise specialist. I became an oncology nutrition consultant after my own journey with breast cancer. About 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with stage 3C breast cancer. And my goal is to kind of help my clients through whatever they choose for their treatments, for their cancer or other kind of metabolic health conditions. I want to help them resonate with the why, the purpose of what we're doing, but also the how. I believe when we understand the why and the how to integrate that into our daily life, it kind of makes these new kind of nutritional therapies stick as habits. And one of my passions is exercise, so helping my clients understand how crucial exercise is to their treatment journey, and how to integrate different modalities into their everyday life.
Hi, my name is Carrie Persinski. I am a consultant with Remission Nutrition. I am originally from Calgary, Alberta, Canada, but now live in Houston, Texas with my husband, daughter, son, and 2 dogs. I have a strong fascination with learning more about the quality of soil, the quality of our food, and ultimately the health of our gut microbiome. What made me decide on oncology nutrition was seeing my grandma, who my daughter was named after, succumb to lymphoma, and my best friend's husband to melanoma. I was honestly mortified at the food recommendations that they were given. I also have the honor of raising 2 incredible humans that I adore more than anything in this world. When I am not consulting, I am with them at their hockey games, making amazing meals for the entire family, learning all that I can about growing, canning, and fermenting. And of course, taking care. Life is great. And I'm looking forward to meeting you.
Hi there, my name is Steph. I'm from Melbourne, Australia, and I am one of the Oncology Nutrition Consultants at Remission Nutrition. My specialties include gut health, hormone health, coaching and guiding clients on implementing a therapeutic ketogenic diet. I love to inspire and educate all my clients on therapeutic foods, the importance of utilising herbs and spices, and providing recipes with diverse, accessible ingredients. There are so many complementary therapies we can include to effectively help our clients with their treatment and quality of life. I believe it is important to provide options, research, and encouragement with all clients to help them make the best decision for themselves.
My name is Anna Clarissa Lunerberg, and I am one of the Oncology Nutrition Consultants at Remission Nutrition. I currently live in the state of Colorado in the U.S., and I started out Remission Nutrition in 2022 as a client relations manager. I would probably say about 2, maybe 3 months after I started working there and I was following along with clients on their cancer journey, I started to see how much they were changing in a positive way as they were following along with their nutritional protocol. And after seeing the clients, come so far and reach their goals or, be so successful incorporating the nutrition, and honestly hearing from them directly how grateful they were for the consultants and how much they made an impact on their life, I decided I wanted to join this team. I wanted to be one of the people to help support them nutritionally through their journey.
Hello, I'm Karen Schrum, and I have been with Remission Nutrition since 2020. I often get asked, why am I focusing my career on oncology nutrition? And the answer is easy, and that's family. Whether it was helping my father deal with diabetes or heart health, or being there for my sister during her 9-year journey with breast cancer, I have really learned about nutrition, the impact it can make in a positive way to health, and it has opened my eyes on how we can do things a little bit different with our experience with cancer.
Welcome to my kitchen. This is where the magic happens in my family. As a mother of 2 teenage girls, I am always striving to provide them solid, nutrient-dense meals, but also educating them on how to make good nutrition choices. With clients, I love helping them figure out how to optimize nutrition in their meals. So cheers to you, and eat to live.
Hi, my name is Ruby Long. I'm the Marketing and Client Relations Manager at Remission Nutrition, and I'm here to answer any of your questions, concerns, or inquiries. By visiting our website, remissionnutrition.com, you can find more information on all we have to offer, and you can book an appointment with one of our lovely, smart consultants. All of this information can be found under the Services tab. We would love to hear from you. To contact us, please call at 720-295-1759 or email info@remissionnutrition.com. And don't forget to check out our Instagram and Facebook at Remission Nutrition. We're here for you.
Thanks, everybody, for bearing with the video. I just really wanted to give you a sense of who we are, and it's really great to be here in person with all of you because we're used to working remote. We're all on our computers. We meet weekly as a team, but it's really special to be here with everybody in person. So did anyone see this on the wall here at Riordan Clinic? What is metabolic oncology nutrition? It really, I feel like, is using food as medicine. The other thing that we really want to portray today is the fact that there is so much we can do for our journey, whether it's a cancer journey or prevention, just overall longevity, health, wellness. There's so much we can do, so oftentimes we focus a lot on what we can't do or what not to eat. And so I really hope that you all come away with some things that you can do. I'm getting feedback in the mic, so it's a little loud, so sorry about that. I'm trying to talk quiet. So we believe in a metabolic approach to health, and I'm wondering who has read the book, The Metabolic Approach to Cancer. It's in the entry of the clinic here being sold. It's a wonderful book, and we really use this book as sort of our way, the metabolic approach to health rather than just cancer. So our goal is to improve the health of what we would call the terrain. Do you all hear about the terrain here at Riordan Clinic? It's the different systems of the body. So it's a different, it might be our blood sugar regulation, our genetics, inflammation. There's different buckets, we might call them, the different systems. And we're always trying to work to make our body or our garden the healthiest we can. Balancing blood sugar is also at the core of what we do, so I'll get into that quite a bit. Can you still hear me okay? So we like to talk about what a metabolic lifestyle and nutrition plan looks like, and is this just for cancer? And I think it's important to know that we need to look at prevention. Prevention from maybe a recurrence, prevention of getting cancer in the first place, and there's just a lot we can do. It's pretty exciting. So I love balance. I talk about balance. It's like my favorite word. So we want to balance our blood sugar, and I'll talk about what that means. Our energy levels, our hormones, our mood, stress, our meals, and our body weight. And we do that oftentimes by starting with a Mediterranean diet. And the Mediterranean diet is very similar to, I think, the lunch that you've just enjoyed. We were just talking about this, that we really try to eat. When we go out to eat, we're looking oftentimes for Mediterranean food, and it's crazy how many restaurants there are here locally that serve Mediterranean food. And really, it's all about eating real food rather than a lot of processed foods, right? So going to a place where you can get fresh vegetables, fresh food, it does become harder and harder, but like I said, it was crazy to see how many places here have options. So it's very whole foods based, and we really want to make sure the quality is good as much as possible, and we'll talk more about what that means. Plant forward. Who's heard about a plant-based diet? Has anyone heard about? A lot of times we think about that as being vegetarian or vegan, meaning no animal products, but we really like a plant-forward, plant-based, meaning most of what we're eating are coming from plants. So there's really amazing research around this Mediterranean diet and how effective it can be with decreasing cancer incidence, which is really, really exciting. And I would say that probably falls into a lot of different diseases, right? So it really consists of, again, I just said it, whole foods, real food, not a lot of processed things. When I think of Mediterranean diet, I think of a lot of olive oil, olives, nuts and seeds, fatty fish, things like that, and vegetables galore. The rainbow we were talking about earlier. So again, we're focusing on what we can do as opposed to always what we can't do. And again, it's real foods. Does everybody, who likes to cook at home these days? Good. That's where we do the best, is when we're cooking at home. And again, eating the rainbow, eating organic as much as possible. There's a great website called Environmental Working Group, or EWG.org. And you can actually, they put out what's called the Dirty Dozen or the Clean 15. And so you can make food choices based on those lists. So what is most important to buy organic? High quality, as it's not just the vegetables and the pesticides that might be used, but it's also getting these grass-fed animals, if possible, and wild-caught fish. Grass-fed, we talk about pasture-raised and pasture-finished, meaning they're out at pasture and they're eating what's more natural to them. You'll hear people say, you are what you eat, and we like to say, you are what your food eats as well. So whatever they're eating, they might be passing on to us. Filtered water, like the beautiful water that's here at the clinic, that's really important as well. There can be a lot of different toxins in our water, so you want to make sure of that. Spices are great. Like, you can really make a plate more nutritious by adding spices to it, and the list sort of goes on. You'll see some things here about carbohydrates and sugar, and we do want to be careful, especially when we're talking about oncology nutrition or nutrition for cancer. We do try to cut back the sugar as much as possible and the carbohydrates. And Karen will talk more about that as well. And you can tell I'm a big fan of photos. So I love to see these foods and for us to all see what a plate can look like. So we talk about the market, and when you can, is there a farmer's market here? I think there is in Old Town, farmer's market. So I'd love, it's one of my favorite things to do, is go to a farmer's market and just get a rainbow of things and then create from there. We don't all have that available to us, but when we do, utilize it if you can. And so it's kind of from market to the plate. And so it's really important to see, what can I be making at home? It's a lot of people feel this is hard, this is hard, this is hard, and it can be an adjustment if you're not making your own food in very balanced ways. But I just like to show images of that, and we have tons of recipes available for folks as well. So here is the list of things to avoid or at least minimize. It's almost Halloween. Isn't it Halloween all the time? So here is a list of some things to be really cautious with. And this is for all of us, honestly. Sugar. Sorry, but sugar. Soda and energy drinks can be chock full, as we know, of sugar and things that might not be so hot if we're trying to live a healthier lifestyle and prevent cancer or work through a cancering journey. We talked, when we did our recent podcast, we talked about seed oils. And seed oils are the ones that are being used at a lot of restaurants. So there's actually an app that you can use. It's called Seed Oil Scout, if anyone's ever heard of that. And you can kind of look up what restaurants might not be using seed oils. They can be very inflammatory to the body. We want to really keep our inflammation down, as we all probably know. So here's just a little list. I love to talk about high heat cooking. So if we're used to really cooking things at really, really high heat, that can actually bring in some potential toxins to our body. And you hear about carcinogens and the, when people like to really caramelize things or blacken them, those can be potential carcinogens. So trying to be a little more patient in the kitchen and cook things on lower heat, even on the grill, low. Sugar. Does anyone feel their teeth hurt when they look at this picture? Because mine do. So what is sugar? We often think about sugar as being this, candy. And it's not always to our bodies. So we can eat certain foods that can turn to sugar more quickly in our body could be those very processed things like the crackers, the potato chips and things like that. So just knowing that those carbohydrates can convert to sugar in our bodies and cause some issues, and you'll see why in a sec. I feel like we could talk about nutrition for 6 hours, and so it's really, we're brushing through some things, so please ask questions at the end. This is my little soapbox. I like to talk about the blood sugar roller coaster. And does anyone know what a blood sugar roller coaster is? Anyone? So, yeah, and I'll give some indicators of how do we know if we're on that blood sugar roller coaster, but I'm telling you a lot of people are. Kids, adults, we're all often struggling to get off this blood sugar roller coaster. The reason why we want to get off of it is because it can be very inflammatory. It can impact our hormones, our sleep, all kinds of things, our mood. So this is how we can tell if we're on that blood sugar roller coaster. A lot of people, I'll ask, how many people reach for either a nap or a cup of coffee at 3 p.m, or a snack, something to like boost them, right? And a lot of people do. They get that sluggish feeling later in the day. So that's a really big indicator. If people tell me, I can't fall asleep, I need to eat something before I go to bed, that's another indicator that you might be on this blood sugar roller coaster. Everybody hear about the word hangry? Yeah. So that's another indicator that maybe I don't want to use that word, I don't want to say should, but we want to be able to go a bit without food. And I know Dr. West is going to talk about this later, but we really want to have, if possible, that 3-hour window between dinner and bedtime. And drinking some herbal tea in the evenings without having that late night snack can improve this blood sugar roller coaster, your labs, your hormones, your sleep, all kinds of things. So here's just a little toolbox. You'll all get these slides. You can look at it later, but moving after your meal is one of the best ways to balance your blood sugar. So that's pretty cool. Using protein and fat, so having these, remember that word balanced meals. So if you look at your plate, you've got some protein, you've got some fat, and you've got your carbohydrates from fruit, vegetables, whatever it might be. Eating fiber, super important, and that's very important for a lot of reasons. These are some herbs and things, some different foods you can use to actually balance your blood sugar. A couple of my favorites would be Ceylon cinnamon. So it's great because if you are cutting back on your sugar, it has this natural sweet taste, and it helps lower your blood sugar, which is fascinating. So in the slide, you've heard that we look at labs, and Dr. West and Dr. Ron look at labs to see what your blood sugar picture is looking like. So that's another indicator. So if you know already, your doctor may have said you're pre-diabetic, or you're diabetic, or you're going in that direction, there's a lot we can do with some of these simple things. So that's pretty exciting. Apple cider vinegar is another favorite, and using that in salad dressings. I don't care to drink it. A lot of people drink it before a meal, but I use it in my salad dressings. Another big sort of, rule of thumb is to not eat your carbohydrates alone. So if you have a tendency to walk by and grab, maybe it's potato chips, maybe it's a bowl of strawberries, you don't want to necessarily eat those, chomp on those by themselves. It's really great to have something with fat or protein with it. So maybe it's a plain flavored yogurt with cinnamon and some strawberries or blueberries. So those fruits can increase your blood sugar, and if you don't have fat or protein with them, then it's going to be a bigger blood sugar spike. So you're going to be on that, remember that roller coaster of blood sugar going up and down, up and down. So also juicing, that can be a little bit of a big hot topic to go through, but it's really important to keep the fiber in our foods because that also slows down that sugar load. So sometimes when people are going and getting their apple, carrot, beet juices, it might be like taking a sugar shot. So having some fat with it, if you are really, wanting that juice, that's important. So there's a lot of information out there, as probably you all know, about nutrition, and it can be really overwhelming. What we are always trying to do is keep people out of that place of fear and really empower you with information, recipes, and if we can land in this sort of balanced place with our nutrition, where we're not getting stuck into these really sort of almost dogmatic diets, that's really important. So balance. And then what we do, so we kind of start with this Mediterranean sort of balanced diet. Then if someone's in a cancering journey, they're undergoing treatment, then we will start to use these more nuanced nutrition plans where we tweak this Mediterranean diet. So that becomes kind of our foundation. And Karen's going to talk more about some of these different sort of nuanced nutrition therapies, we would call them. Thanks, everybody. Would you like me to click?
Sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Jen.
Yes.
I'm Karen again for everybody. And just to show of hands in the back row, can you hear me okay? Excellent. Thank you. So obviously you guys have been on the internet and searched all kinds of things on Google, and food can get very overwhelming. So we're hoping that we can fine-tune some of that information for you today. Of course, before you go down any kind of nutritious therapeutic plan, we need to cover the basis. Where on this list, on this slide, can you do better? Okay? We are always asking, how's your water intake? And the response is always, great. But it's always defining great, right? Is great for you 20 ounces? Is great for you 80 ounces? The rule of thumb that we follow with water is drink half your weight in ounces of water. So that's a real good thing to write down in your cute program packs there is, am I drinking half my weight in ounces of water? So if I'm weighing 120 pounds, am I at a minimum getting 60 ounces in? And then am I thinking about the caffeine intake? Am I thinking about my exercise load? Am I replenishing accordingly based off of just my day, right? I'm not going to go through all those, but those are just really good places for you guys to think about. Am I getting 8 hours of sleep? Am I moving an hour every day? Do I have joy in my life? Am I getting off of my screens and doing other things that make me giggle, make me feel a little lighter in my day? Okay? Click, please. So everything we do, the metabolic approach to cancer is our foundation. We start there. We look at your terrain. We find the imbalances. But then from then on, everything is customized to the individual client. So what does that mean? We look at your labs. We look at your lifestyle. We look at your eating habits. We look at your genetics. And we go, what does this individual need versus somebody that is dealing with a different diagnosis? We always look at your cancer diagnosis, your treatment plans, but then we look at the bigger picture because you are very much different from this person over here. Okay? Okay, so the metabolic lifestyle, kind of going back to how you can find balance in your life. It's not just always what you eat, but also how are you doing in these areas? Do you have a support system? Do you have a faith-based support? Is that important to you? Are you in touch with nature? Have you hugged a tree? Has anybody in here ever hugged a tree? It's very rewarding. It's crazy to think about, but when was the last time your skin touched earth? Right? I don't. I'm walking on a sidewalk. I'm swimming in a pool. I'm not even in the ocean. It's just kind of interesting to stop and think about when was the last time my feet were in the grass or my feet were in the sand, Okay, so here we start going, how is nutrition therapeutic? And as Jen touched on, we have all these great foods. And the way I like to look at it is, if I look at my plate, is there value in what I'm eating, or is it empty calories? So everything on my plate should have some benefit to me. And these are some of the foods that definitely have benefits that we talk about a whole heck of a lot. First thing on there, broccoli sprouts, cruciferous vegetables. They have 2 anti-cancer phytonutrients in them. Broccoli sprouts are just these little potent, bang for your buck kind of things. Beautiful in salads, beautiful on soups, beautiful in a smoothie, grind them up. Not a whole lot of flavor. So if you're going, Karen, I do not like broccoli. Okay, try this, right? There's always an answer. There's always a way to get some nutrient food in you. Garlic and ginger down there, I feel like those suckers are on a lot of things. They're great for digestive health. They're a superfood for your liver. They're great for lessening some side effects. So do you have ginger and garlic in your home? Is it fresh? And a fun food fact about garlic is you release more phytonutrients if you chop it up and let it sit for a minimum of 2 minutes out on your counter. So before you eat it, before you cook it, before you pickle it, or whatever it may be, just doing that simple thing with garlic could be really health beneficial for you guys. So a big thing that we do is mitigate, lessen, hopefully get rid of some side effects that people receive through treatments. There's our friend Ginger. It's, again, nausea is a big thing that we see people dealing with, lack of appetite. Even if it's in your labs and we see that your platelets are low, there's 2 things that we always recommend for platelets. One of them is a good quality organic sesame seed oil. Fun fact, you can either consume it or rub it on a thin area of your skin, and that will actually help your body produce platelets. So super, super easy things that we are always looking at. That darn liver is working really hard for you through treatment, and that is always a focus, is liver love. And you can see some of them on here: lemon, ginger, our friend walnut is also really good, parsley, and cilantro. I talk a lot with my clients as far as those are really fun in sauces and on salads. And let's not forget those little tiny green, leafy greens that we can be adding in for liver love. Okay, so Mediterranean ketogenic diet, we get this a lot. Your ketogenic peeps, right? Yes, the ketogenic plan, a therapeutic plan, is very researched in the oncology world as far as showing benefit to somebody who is cancering. So we do talk about the ketogenic diet a lot, but we also have more tools in our toolbox. The Mediterranean diet, Jen covered. If you're coming to us and you have gone through treatment and your digestive system is really unhappy and agitated, a lot of times that's where I start. And, just saying, we need to heal your gut so you can absorb the nutrients, so you can feel better, you can have better energy. So it may be the ketogenic diet, but it may not be right away. We may start with low carb, we may start with gut health, we may start with Mediterranean. So we have a lot of resources that, again, is very tailored to the individual on what that individual may need. Did I cover everything?
Yeah. I mean, the ketogenic diet and kind of what that means.
Okay.
Maybe.
So is there anybody in here that may be toying with the idea of the ketogenic diet? Or, yeah, great. So this is a really dangerous Google thing to search, isn't it? I call it dirty keto. Google is really good at dirty keto. What does that mean? Well, to me, it means a lot of dairy and a lot of processed foods. So you can get in ketosis with the keto cookies and the cheese tortilla and all the things. But from a cancering perspective, we're always looking at that green and clean. I say that a lot, green and clean keto. And the ratios is very specific to the ketogenic diet because we know we're trying to lessen the glucose, right? We don't want to be a glucose machine anymore. And that means we've got to lessen carbohydrates. We always keep protein in moderation because guess what? We can produce glucose from an excess amount of protein consumption. And then what do we produce ketones from? Fat. Really, really high quality, healthy fats. So there's a ratio of your macronutrients that you may have never eaten like that before. It's usually 70-75% healthy fat, 20-25% quality protein, and then that 5% of your complex carbohydrates, those vegetables. Now I say that, and you may look at those pictures that Jen had up and go, there was a lot of vegetables on those plates. And that's okay, because what we're looking at is net carbs, okay? Net carbs is total carbohydrates minus fiber, and what's left, that's net carbs. So we want you to have a lot of vegetables. We want you to have fiber for digestive health and slowing down any kind of glucose that may be coming into the body. So a high vegetable, high fiber diet. So that ketone ratio, when you visualize it on your plate, that plate is majority vegetables, okay? And then your side dish is your protein. And then on that entire plate, you have 3 servings of fat. And keep in mind that serving of fat is not a cup of olive oil, folks. It is a tablespoon or the size of your thumb. So we're not saturating in fat. We're having a beautiful, lovely, enjoyable, tasty dinner. But we got to make sure that we have those 3 servings of fat in there to produce those ketones. Okay?
Perfect.
Okay.
Can you guys?
This is you.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay? No.
Hello, hello.
Oh, you could switch mics.
If it works.
I can just give you this, probably.
Yeah, let's just do this. So we have.
Don't go too far.
Okay. Yeah. We're gonna stay real close. Can you guys hear me? Yeah. Okay, is that better? Okay, so yeah, and tagging on to what Karen said, we evolved to be in a ketogenic state. So there's different ways to get into ketosis. And one of the reasons we evolved, and I'm Dr. West, by the way, for those of you who don't know. So one of the reasons that we developed the ability to get into ketosis is because we actually weren't the best hunters. So before we were able to farm and figured out how to harvest, we relied on hunting and gathering for our food. And there were sometimes we just didn't have food. And so we would go into these periods of fast and famine. To get by, our body needed to figure out a way to utilize the fat stores that we had to provide us energy. And so that's where ketosis came in. So there are some patients who aren't able to get into ketosis or it's not good for them. And so we can do intermittent fasting. And I do recommend intermittent fasting for almost all of my patients. And there's a very easy way to do that, which is 13 hours a night away from food. The key to that being 3 hours between finishing dinner and bedtime. So you want to, if you finish dinner by 7, you don't want to go to bed any earlier than 10. And then you have another 7 hours after that before you eat again. So, or no, 9. 9 hours. I can do math, I promise. So 9 hours after that before you eat again. So 13 hours is what we typically recommend, but there's new data coming out showing that it's actually 16 hours, which may be key. So 16 hours fast, 8-hour eating window. Seems kind of difficult, but when you think about it, that would be like 10 to 6. So you eat between the hours of 10 to 6 or 9 to 5 or something like that. It's easier to do it in the wintertime when it gets dark early, right? Because you don't feel like you want to eat later. But there's lots of different ways to do it. I know some people say, oh, well, it doesn't matter when you do your 8 hours. I do think that 3 hours before bedtime is important. It gives, essentially what intermittent fasting does is it gives the cells time to rest, restore. It's kind of like cellular housekeeping,
where when we give the body a break from digesting food, our cells can get rid of the cells that we no longer need. And that being said, those damaged cells are gone, and we prevent risk of cancer. There's also data. This guy, Walter Longo from University of California, Southern California, he's spearheaded a bunch of data on this and has discovered that intermittent fasting significantly reduces risk of autoimmunity, cancer, and also manages autoimmune issues. So there's a lot of data coming out about this. Really, really fascinating man if you guys want to look his name up. But the other things intermittent fasting does is it modulates blood sugar, balances hormones. We talked about autophagy. It suppresses inflammation and oxidative stress, which is that cellular cleanup. So a lot of really fascinating stuff about this. He has also created a fasting mimicking diet, no affiliation whatsoever, but it's called Prolon. I don't know if any of you have heard of that. But it's basically a meal kit you get, which is 5 days of food, and it's very limited as far as calories go. So they call it a fasting mimicking diet because you're restricting calories so much that your body is getting into a fasting state. It's kind of nice because it keeps you out of the kitchen. The only problem is that if you have kids or other family members, you're in the kitchen anyway. So, yeah. So, but there's another one we like called the OWL Reset, and that's a little bit more organic soups and smoothies, but either way, interesting things to check out. The owl, like the bird, the owl, OWL Reset. And they have a 4-day, 6-day, and 8-day fast. Prolon, Prolon. Yeah. Walter Longo, so like Walter, but with a V. And there are some labs that we actually look at for our patients that can tell us how strict we need to be with fasting or what we need to do dietarily. So that's one thing that we look at as well. So, yeah, we can go on. Oh, yeah. Prolon, Prolon. That's one of the fasting mimicking diets that they have out there. And then the OWL Reset. Reset, like I'm resetting. So then we talk about, okay, well, what does fasting mean? True fasting is only water, but we can do dirty fasting. And dirty fasting is fine as well. And what dirty fasting means is that we can do water, tea, electrolytes, broths. One of the best things to drink when you're fasting is green tea, and this is a recommendation I make for quite a few of my patients. Studies of green tea out of Japan and China have shown that 10 to 12 cups of green tea a day, I know most of us are not doing that, but 10 to 12 cups of green tea a day significantly reduce risk of disease, cancer specifically. And what they do in Japan and China is they'll start by steeping their leaves in the morning and continually adding hot water to it throughout the day, and that allows the caffeine to decrease over time, but the theanine stays in there. And theanine is kind of like a nervine. It gives us that calm, alert state. So that's the beautiful thing about green tea is it keeps us awake, but it also keeps us calm and a little zen. And I know you guys all have some green tea out there, so it's kind of nice. And then I think this is what it all comes down to. You know, we all work as a team, and I'm so privileged to have the ability to work with all of these lovely people up here. You know, it takes a village. The patient, the client is in the center, and we're all here to support you. It's not one way or the other. It's different perspectives coming together to create a whole. And with that said, I did want to read this quote, that as you ought not to attempt to cure the eyes without the head or the head without the eyes, neither ought one attempt to cure the body without the soul. This is the reason why the cure of so many diseases is unknown of the physician, because they are ignorant of the whole, which should also be studied. For the part can never be well unless the whole is well. And the Chiefs have proven that, I think. So yeah, and then survivorship. I mean, we were talking about this earlier, but I think instead of survivorship, it's not just about surviving, it's about thriving. You know, it's thrivership. Yeah. After dealing with an illness or a disease, the whole point is that you're healthier than you ever were before you got it. right? Because there's a reason it started in the first place. So that's our job. Our job is to figure out, where the imbalances were, what created that terrain that enabled disease, and turn that around. Clean the soil. Help people to thrive. And that's what we do. So, yeah. And then some bullet points here, key takeaways. Choose real food over processed. Food is your medicine. It is our foundation. Avoid the blood sugar roller coaster. Fasting can help with that. Choosing whole foods, balanced meals can help with that. And then the Mediterranean diet is beautiful, healthy, and delicious. And focus on what you can eat instead of what you can't eat. We don't really like the term diet because it insinuates restriction. There's so much we can eat.
Oh, sorry. I was sleeping. No, I'm kidding. Get your foundational principles in place and then individualize the plan. So get the foundation, drinking enough water, getting enough sleep, finding your joy. Lifestyle really does matter. So exercise, movement, whatever that is for you. We're not all going to be in the gym lifting heavy weights, but something, moving. We use it so much with side effect mitigation when people are fatigued. Like, you've got to move. It's the last thing you want to do, but move, and you'll feel better. A team approach is critical, and this is a journey. It's not a flip of the switch. It takes time, and patience, and we're all in it together. So, and this is just to know that we want you to feel empowered and equipped, and just to know that there is something that you can do. And food matters. Food is medicine. Lifestyle matters. We do have a metabolic, it's called the Metabolic Rehab Recipe Guide, and there is a coupon code here for 100% off. So I think we sell it for $10 on our website. So if you're welcome to go and download that, and I think you have a QR code in the pamphlet. So feel free, enjoy. It's 10 recipes to go with the 10 terrains. And thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We wanted to make sure that you feel comfortable not only asking questions, but making comments. We're interested in having this be interactive, and we're willing to go a little longer over what we normally do for question and answer, because this is really your time to kind of check out the depth of what this team means for you if you are indeed a cancer survivor, or you're working with cancer now, or you just plain don't want to ever get cancer. So all of us in this room could probably fit into one of those categories. But please feel free to let us know what you're thinking or your questions. She's picking them up now.
Oh, thank you. We'll just start there. Is there any truth to eating food in specific order to help avoid the blood sugar roller coaster?
I love that question. Yes. Who asked the question? I just wanted to see. Oh, hi. Hi. Definitely. I think that eating fibrous vegetables prior, at the beginning, the start of your meal, can be really helpful. And then making sure, and that's where that apple cider vinegar can come into play, so you can put that on your veggies. You can munch on that, and then you can go into your main meal. And if you're having a carbohydrate, say it's a whole grain sort of thing toward the end, or even some fruit, you would want to have that, at end of your meal. So the starch at the end or the carbohydrate. So if it's maybe a part of a sweet potato or something like that, yes. And also adding, if you're going to have sweet potato or potatoes, always make sure you keep the skin on, because that fiber will also help with that blood sugar roller coaster, and lather it up with really good olive oil.
Okay, here's a question. Can you speak about the best type of salt to use and what types should be avoided?
Can you still hear me? I think you can. Okay. I lean towards the Himalayan salt and the salt crystals from a nutrient perspective. The last thing that we recommend is the iodized salt. So you want something in its natural form. You want it to be a source of minerals for you. A lot of times, even if you have a reverse osmosis water filtration system, we tell people to add in salt back in their water, because that system takes everything out of the water. So those are my favorite salts. There's no lack of salts out in the world. Anything processed or soaked in something, I tend to say maybe pause that for right now, because we're not quite sure. For instance, a friend of mine had truffle salt. Well, we weren't quite sure where that truffle came from, and it gets kind of shaky there. Anything processed like Lowry salt, that is very, very processed kind of salt. Yes, it's got a different flavor to it, so sometimes it's fun, but I would lean away from that as well.
Yeah, and I would say the Celtic salt is really good, or Celtic salt, real salt. Those, I really think diversity, and we didn't talk about that much, but changing up your salts, trying different things.
So how do you go about? How do you go about choosing a restaurant and staying on the path?
Seed Oil Scout?
What is it, Seed Oil Scout?
The website?
Yeah, Seed Oil Scout.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah.
I would say at a minimum, this comes up a lot as people are traveling. We try to give travel tips on how to handle nutrition. Always look at menus before you go. Come up with a game plan. Set yourself up for success before you even arrive. Even if you have to have a little snack before you go, so you're not showing up famished and that bread basket or that bowl of chips comes flying out. You want to say no to that stuff. You want to go low carb. What on the menu is already low carb. Look at their vegetables. Look at their sides of vegetables, and always request 2 sides. So there's always going to be usually a vegetable and a starch. I just politely ask to have 2 servings of vegetables and no starch. So those are some tips that I can think of.
So I enjoy eating some red meat. Can you recommend some of the healthier sources of red meat?
Yeah. I think I get this question a lot. I think, first of all, it depends on what you're dealing with. And if, looking at some labs is important. But red meat, what you really want to look for is grass-finished red meat. A lot of people are like, I'm doing grass-fed. But the problem with grass-fed is they can feed that cow grain right up until they're about to go to butcher, and then give them a little bit of pasture and say, oh, well, they're grass-fed, which isn't a lie, right? They were grass-fed, but we really want the grass-finished. So look for that. That's a key terminology.
And there's a ton of companies online that you can order from that do a really lovely job. There's tons of them now.
Yeah, and we talked about this yesterday too. There's some meats out there that actually have some organ meats in them, which is so nutritive. And if you're getting a good company, I mean, what a great nutritional way to go.
Does anyone like organ meats?
Well, it's nice if it's disguised, right, with other things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, what about healthier nuts to eat? Health nuts.
I think it's really important to, again, diversity and not just eat one type of nut. Almonds tend to be they're higher in omega-6s, which are more inflammatory, and you want to make sure you're getting organic. So any nut, organic, mix it up. I love walnuts, pecans, macadamia nuts are great. They're higher in fat. But it's really important to store your nuts well. So you buy them maybe raw, maybe sprouted, and then you put them in a jar and put them in your refrigerator because they can harbor a lot of molds and things. So that's important.
Now, what about like peanuts versus nuts? Is that what you're talking about?
Maybe. Peanuts are more of a legume, so they're more of a bean. They are also grown on the ground for the most part, so they can be quite moldy. So we're pretty careful with peanuts. They're also something that, I don't know about you all, but I can overeat them a lot because they're very sweet. So they are maybe higher in carbohydrate as well.
So one restaurant to avoid would probably be Texas Roadhouse. And, but yeah, peanuts tend to be, so we get the question a lot of, well, which nut butter do I have then? Because peanut butter is my favorite thing. So almond butter, there's a lot of almond butter, but it's high in omega-6s. Macadamia nut butter is delicious, and they have a lot of brands out there now. So just FYI on that. Yeah.
How does alcohol come into play?
So your body views alcohol as a toxin. So it will always prioritize alcohol metabolism over food metabolism. So you should know that how your body looks at it. If you're going through the cancering journey, we never say you should partake. You should be limiting or just pausing as you figure out what you need on your cancering journey. Just knowing how your liver's probably handling a lot, and so if you throw the alcohol on top of a treatment, probably not the best thing to be doing for liver health. There are some alcohols that are better than others. Obviously stay away from mixed drinks where there's a real sugary mixer in with alcohol. Obviously, red wine is known to have resveratrol and some health benefits from it. And tequila is actually on the paleo diet. We've not really talked about a whole lot, but it is a very clean alcohol. But again, if we go back to Jen's slide of the number one carb rule, never have carbs by itself, I kind of view alcohol, because it changes your blood sugar, I view it as a carb. It has a glucose response in the body. So if you are going to have a very small glass of organic, low-sugar wine with no tannins or sulfates, then you probably want to be having a healthy fat or protein with that to slow down the absorption of that alcohol.
Like they do in the Mediterranean, right? So, and there's actually been a couple studies showing that, again, people who are through the cancer journey, well, you're never through with it once you get it, but once you're in remission, there's been a couple studies showing that 3 to 4 glasses, not our traditional American 10 to 12 ounce glasses of wine, but 4 to 6 ounce glasses of wine a week have actually been shown to be protective. And there's a couple of reasons they think this is. One is the flavonoids, and 2 is the lowered stress response. There is something about just bringing us down at the end of the day. But again, it's important to have it with meals. And one thing that I think we all need to be mindful of is maybe getting wine from outside of this country. A lot of wine from California, unfortunately, tends to have a lot of glyphosate. So
here's one I can answer. Is it true that vitamin D works better with vitamin K for bone health? It's really, vitamin D works fine by itself, but when you take it with vitamin K, any excess calcium that the vitamin D causes you to absorb will be put into your bones and teeth and not into your arteries or someplace where you don't want calcium, breast tissue, for example. So it's always best, in my mind, to take vitamin D3 with K2 if possible. You agree with that? Okay. If you were taking meds at bedtime that requires taking with food, how does that affect the intermittent fasting?
Oh, well, if you do, I talk about this with patients too. If you do need to take a medicine later at night or in that fasting window, and it does require some food, how about some macadamia nut butter or something that's really high in fat to help limit any blood glucose changes?
Also, we have something called Tri-Salts up there, which is like a good-tasting baking soda, and you could take your food with that, and it won't upset your stomach. Can you freely use or safely use olive oil and
something about heat?
Oh, maybe for cooking?
Yeah. And so asking about whether or not high heat will affect olive oil. And my understanding is it does. I've had some people say that it doesn't, but I think to be safe, it would be better if you use coconut oil or butter if you're going to be at a higher heat. Or avocado oil even works better at a higher heat. Olive oil I would use more for salad dressings or really low heat foods.
Or even as a condiment.
So estrogen mimic foods like soybeans and flaxseed really have a negative effect or a positive effect on cancer. So estrogen mimicking foods.
Okay, so the studies are clear now. There was a lot of debate for a while, but we actually know that ground flax seeds, not flaxseed oil, but ground flax seeds and soy is actually highly protective for hormonal cancers. And the reason is because they act as phytoestrogens, which is a good thing. They sit in the estrogen receptor and don't stimulate growth like regular estrogens do. So they're actually protective. The studies are very clear. Now, there's a caveat to that because a lot of the soy grown in this country is full of glyphosate. So you got to be really careful about the products that you're getting.
So how does the team feel about CBD oil in terms of in the cancer situation?
Yeah, I mean, I think if it works for you, it's great. It can be used in all different ways. Topically, it can help bring down inflammation, pain. It can help relax. And using it of really high quality is really important. So I think it's great.
Yeah, I've had some patients who can't find anything else to help with sleep. And CBD has been the thing that's really helped. So
you might want to get a pharmaceutical grade because sometimes you don't know where the CBD oil came from.
Exactly.
I personally don't have much experience in it since here in Kansas we still do not have that available, but I think it's okay.
I would just watch the sugar in the gummy.
Same.
There is a gene in the Nutrition Genome Report that is out there that will, if you have that genetic SNP, it could mean that you cannot clear THC out of your liver well. So I would want to know that as an individual. Could that be part of my story, and should I be concerned about that at all?
And you'll probably feel that pretty fast if you don't do well with THC. So
how does near-infrared treatments fit in with longevity and cancer?
I mean, I think it can be helpful. They can help to stimulate cellular regeneration, mitochondrial function, things like that. I think it's great when used in conjunction with a sauna. I think using near and far infrared is actually important. There's been some studies showing that the spectrum is important. So, yeah.
I know there's a lot of studies that the infrared technology will penetrate the cell membrane. So the sweat from an infrared sauna has 20% toxins in it, where exercise sweat only has 1% to 2%. So you're just really efficient at getting toxins out in an infrared sauna.
Yeah, and one thing to be careful about saunas, you guys, if you're ever out there looking to purchase a sauna for your house, some of them can be really high in EMFs or electromagnetic frequency. So it's important to do your research and look for ones that are lower.
And after you sweat, shower.
Get it off.
So what about the different sugar substitutes? Stevia, erythritol, monk fruit. Does that have the same effect on cancer as sugar?
That's a good question. Does it have the same effect on our blood sugar? No. Do we want to use those products all the time? No. Are they helpful with getting some sweet flavor in? Sure. Some people might experience some digestive issues. So I always am in moderation, but I like to use more of a kind of a straight up monk fruit, organic. And there's another company called Boca Sweet, which is coming from a type of squash, actually. And that one is pretty nice. It works well in baked products for that, birthday cake that doesn't have a bunch of sugar in it. So it's BOCHA sweet is the second word. That's the one I like.
There was a new study earlier this year on erythritol, and it was about the negative impact on cardiovascular disease. So while it may not spike your blood glucose from a metabolic perspective, I think it was if you have 30 grams a day of erythritol, which, by the way, keto ice cream is very high in erythritol, so that would probably be the biggest culprit for this. Then you're affecting another bodily system. So here we are, we're trying to fix terrain and balance out, and cardiovascular is a terrain all by itself. So just be aware of that. We're kind of at the whim of research as research comes out, as they do research on all these different sugar substitutions. So as Jen said, moderation, moderation, moderation.
And eat real food.
So speaking of real food, where does white rice, brown rice, and wild rice, what is good and what is bad?
Yeah, that's, I feel like there's some research coming out right now around even white rice not spiking our blood sugar as much as some of the other rice is. We don't use a lot of rice because it's very high in carbohydrate. So regardless of whether or not it spikes your blood sugar, it's a high carbohydrate food, meaning it's glucose. So if we're worried about cancer, then we're trying to cut back on it. So there's also some genetic, rice happens to be grown in groundwater, and there are certain of us, because of our genetics, that may not clear out arsenic very well. And rice happens to be pretty high in arsenic, so that's another reason to be careful.
And especially brown rice will actually have more levels of arsenic, and it's because it gets concentrated in the hull. So contrary to popular belief, white rice actually might be better for us. So, yeah.
Has anyone heard of resistant starch? So resistant starch is something that we can take a food, say a potato, and we can cook it, and we can cool it for 24 hours, and we can either eat it cold or reheat it later, and it's become, quote unquote, a resistant starch. So it might be easier on our blood sugar than if you just ate the potatoes that you just cooked. So that is an interesting thing, and I believe that rice, you can do the same thing with rice. So you could cook the white rice, let it cool for 24 hours in the refrigerator, please, and then you could reheat it the next day, and you might have less of an impact on your blood sugar.
So here's a person in remission and not currently in treatment. What about Prolon, and what about intermittent fasting, and where does that fit in for that person?
I think it absolutely fits in. I think it helps us all. So I think if you're in remission, and regardless, if you don't have a chronic disease or are in remission, I think doing some of the intermittent fasting, I think we're meant to do it. We're physiologically designed to do it, so I think it's something we should consider. And I always urge people, again, no affiliation, but you could try one of the fasting mimicking diets. If you have a really hard time going a day without food, try an intermittent fasting diet, see how you do with it.
Healthy snacks and on-the-go foods.
So there's a ton of things you can do. Whenever you can get a vegetable in, first of all, you should try to do it, right? Because we're all trying to get in 7 to 9 servings of vegetables a day. So I try to always give myself that challenge. Cucumbers, bell peppers, celery are wonderful vessels for food. Sometimes I'll make a chicken salad mixture, and then I'll have that in a cooler if I'm driving in a car, and then I'll have my sliced vegetables, and that will be a quick snack. WholesomeYum.com is a wonderful website that has low-carb, paleo-friendly, keto-friendly recipes with really clean ingredients. So there is a beautiful low-carb blueberry muffin recipe. I'm a big fan of make it once, eat it many times. So if I can make a batch of low-carb blueberry muffins, that's something I can take in the car. I can freeze it. I can refrigerate it. Something like that to think about. Yes. WholesomeYum.com. And I think the name of the recipe is actually low-carb blueberry muffins. That's it. So, things that you can prep and prepare are always great. Going back to the Mediterranean diet, tzatziki sauce, lovely. Coconut yogurt is lovely because there's obviously no dairy, beautiful fat, sometimes probiotics. So thinking of those kinds of foods, if you are in a car and can take a cooler with you, that's lovely things to take. A snack mix, your favorite nut, your favorite seed, some coconut shavings. That can kind of be nice. Sometimes I sprinkle cinnamon on it. So, anything
I think hard-boiled eggs are a favorite for me. I often, too, fast when I'm traveling, and I just feel so much better. And then I'm really energetic. I'm wide awake when I'm driving a long distance, and I just drink a ton of water and herbal tea. That's kind of how I get my way through. Beef sticks sometimes. There's a lot of companies out there doing grass-fed, grass-finished beef sticks.
So here's one I'm really interested in. What about the carnivore diet, which seems to be big right now, and where does that fit in? I know you mentioned that in terms of that protein can turn to carbs. So, but in general, what's your thoughts? And I have a thought about it too. But
yeah, I mean, you want me to go? There are people that can actually do pretty well as long as the protein is extremely high quality. That can actually get sort of a gut reset. I've seen that. There's a lot of people talking about a carnivore diet right now, and some people do okay. I've tried it because I have to try everything, right, that's coming out to see. I really believe in eating fiber, and we're going to get that not from our meats. We're going to get that from our vegetables. And so it depends on the reason why. And then I would talk about it, and again, quality. But I think I just believe in this basis, and that Mediterranean diet is a really great foundation, and that doesn't include a carnivore diet. I believe in really high-quality protein as part of our balance.
It's interesting. I just thought about this because, there's probably some time for our ancestors who just ate a carnivore diet in the winter, when all they were getting was meat. But what they would eat is the full animal, head to tail. And that's what's different about the carnivore diet, and where there could be some foundation to it is you're getting all the different types of amino acids instead of just methionine. There's a lot of stuff out there about methionine, but you're balancing it all out. So if the carnivore diet's done correctly, and if it's for the right person, and I think for a period of time it might be helpful, but I don't think it's probably good long term. So.
Well, and that goes back to those organ meats, right?
Right,
because if you're doing that nose to tail, they would say that you're getting a lot of those nutrients. And again, we are what we eat. We are what our food eats. So they might be passing some of those nutrients on.
Exactly.
Well, my thought about the carnivore diet is one of the things I've gotten really interested in terms of cancer is the fungal link to cancer. And carnivore, there's not going to be much fungus in that, whereas in a lot of our rice and various things, you're going to be picking up fungal things. And so it might be one way that people reduce their fungal load. Are there any, does anyone have any questions from the audience now, having listened to this dialogue? Yes. So to repeat the question, what is the best water filter?
So Ella, there's a whole group on Facebook, of course, of environmental naturopathic doctors. And as a naturopathic doctor, you can enter the group. And so I've scoured, because I'm like, these are the specialists who are going to know. And I think there's probably a couple others, but the one that I like, and I think we can use brand name, like it can be Pure Effects water filters are the ones, I have one of those in my house. Pure, P-U-R-E, Effects, E-F-F-E-C-T-S. Yeah.
Go ahead. So the question is balsamic. How does it relate to apple cider vinegar?
Yeah, that's a great question too. So, vinegar in general will help your blood sugar, and that's what the research shows. So whether it's apple cider vinegar, the thing I like about apple cider vinegar is that it's more of a live food. So it gives you some probiotics, so that can help your gut as well. I do a blend of apple cider vinegar and balsamic because I still like that flavor. If you look at a label on your balsamic vinegar and you see caramel color, that means sugar. So just know that and try to get really clean balsamic vinegar. Would you agree? Yes.
Okay, I think we're pretty much to the bottom of the list here. Did anyone not hear their question? No, go ahead.
When you were talking about not juicing, you were mostly talking about fruits and juicing carrots. I mean, we are doing like version diet kind of greens, or leafy green, you can probably eat that with.
Well, actually, even green juices are just straight sugar. So even green juices, just celery. Even celery juice is just sugar. So if you go to Whole Foods or you go to Natural Grocers and you grab a bottle of celery juice off the shelf and you look at the constituent of the nutrients, you'll see that it's all sugar. So it may be lower sugar than like apple juice or orange juice, but you still want to be careful. So what I tell people is if you're going to juice, there's a lot of nutrients in it, right? There's some benefits. But if you're going to juice, it's best not to do it first thing in the morning because remember what breakfast means. It means breaking your fast. So you don't want to break your fast with a bolus of sugar right away. But I also recommend if you're going to green juice to do it before or after you're active to utilize that blood sugar right away.
Yeah, one other thing to think about, when you're juicing vegetables, you're trying to go after those antioxidants. Those antioxidants, by nature, are fat soluble. So the reason why juice programs are such high volume is you're going after 5% absorption of those antioxidants. If you would lightly cook a vegetable in healthy fat, you're going to absorb 95% of those antioxidants. So you're way more efficient by cooking with healthy fat than you are these high-volume juice programs.
I guess this might be the last one. What do you think about eating according to your blood type? That's been around for a long time.
I think there's some merit. I do. And it's been interesting because you can look at some epigenetic reports and then figure out someone's blood type, and it actually coincides. I don't think you need to be completely dogmatic about I'm type A, I have to have full, mostly vegetarian, or I'm type O, I need to be mainly carnivore, or anything like that. I think just knowing that is a foundation to kind of work from. Again, most of this, it's a gray area, and it's individualized. I don't think it's black or white. But I think it's interesting, and I do think, again, I think there's some merit. What do you guys think?
Totally agree. Yeah, I agree. I've seen those correlations. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I think we're at the end. Let's give these ladies a wonderful hand. Thank you, everyone, for coming. We really appreciate your support of the Riordan Clinic, and we hope this adds a whole other wonderful dimension to the care that we provide here. So thank you all, and be safe and eat well.